ممنون که امروز اومدیم اینجا. مرسی که توی غم بزرگ ما شریک هستید. کمکاتون و بودنتون بی‌نهایت برای ما ارزش داره. چند تا از دوستان و نزدیکان زحمت کشیدن میخوان یه متنی رو با همون شیر بکنن از زندگی بابا، چه کسی بوده و چی کار کردن. به ترتیب اول مامانم صحبت میکنه، داوود، آقای محدث، رویا جون و آقای جلایه، خانم فروزنده و دانیال. بعد از صحبت ها یک گستبوک برای مموریال جلوی در داریم. خیلی ممنون میشیم اگه چند کلمه هر چیزی که دوست دارین بنویسین راجع به بهزاد، چه کسی بود و چه خاطرهایی ازش دارین. و در آخر هم رفرشمنت و مقداری غذا داریم که در خدمتتون هستیم. Thank you everybody for coming. We really appreciate during these times you guys are with us. You're not leaving us. Your thoughts and prayers, we know it's always been with us and it will be, and it's much appreciated. A few people are going to share a few words with us, close family and friends, and after that we're going to head into the kitchen for some refreshments.
سلام به همگی. مجبورم اول فارسی صحبت کنم بعد انگلیسیش کنم. I will talk Farsi first and then I will talk in English. I hope that I can translate very well everything. ممنونم که آمدین، تنهام نذاشتین، محبتتون رو نشون دادید، احترام گذاشتید به من. روز تعطیل من میدونم سخته. بی نهایت ممنونتون هستم از همتون. خیلی نمیخوام سرتون رو درد بیارم، یکمی فقط در مورد زندگی خودم و بهزاد میگم و در مورد بهزاد کی بود چی بود و خیلی خلاصه. خب خیلیاتون میشناسیدش. فقط میخوام که از دل خودم بگم. میگن سخنی که از دل برآید بر دل نشیند. دیشب اومدم بنویسم دیدم اصلا نمیتونم بنویسم، نمیگنجه چی بگم چی بگم. گفتم میدونی چه، راحت برو حرفتو بزن، فقط بگو که چی بود چی شد. من و بهزاد سال 1361 ازدواج کردیم و تا حالا 40 سال با هم بودیم. اصلا باورم نمیشه اینقدر سریع گذشت. 40 سال با هم. یه همسر نمونه بود واقعا. نمیخوام بگم چون الان نیست من دارم این حرفا رو میزنم، واقعا اینجور نیست. از صمیم قلبم میگم با تمام وجودم دوستش داشتم و عاشقش بودم. مردی بسیار صبور، بسیار دقیق، طوری که من ازم میترسد گاهی اوقات با دقتاش. خیلی نکته سنج و ظریف، خدای برنامه ریزی. اصلا عجیب بود. یعنی وقتی ما میخواستیم مسافرت بریم من میدونستم که در چه روزی در چه ساعتی راه میفتیم، به کجا میرسیم، کدوم هتل، چه غذایی میخوریم، روز بعد در چه ساعتی از اونجا بلند میشیم، بعد کجا میریم، چه تاریخی برمیگردیم میرسیم خونه و همینطور هم میشد. همه چیز همینطور برنامه ریزی شده بود. و این باعث شد که یه جورایی من لوس بشم شاید بگم. یعنی کارا رو گذاشته بودم به عهده اون. میدونستم از من بهتر انجام میده. مسائل فاینانشیال رو، نمیدونم برنامه‌ریزی زندگی رو، من کارم رو میکردم، آشپزیمو میکردم، خونه داریمو میکردم، میذاشتم اون همه کارا رو بکنم. به من میگفت بیا بهت یاد بدم، باید یاد بگیری. حوصله نمیکردم، ترسیدم یاد بگیرم بعد بیفته رو دوش خودم. هی در میرفتم حسش تا زمانی که مریض شد. اونجا دیگه میگفت من دستم کار نمیکنه. کامپیوتری داشت که با چشم اینو سنسور داشت که حرکت میکرد. میگفت برای من سخته تایپ کنم، تو بیا بشین کنار من تایپ کن، من بهت میگم چه کار کنی. در حال این چند سال گذشته که مریض شد فرصتی داد به من که یاد بگیرم کارهایی رو که یاد نداشتم و به عهده اون گذاشته بودم. حتی در دوران بیماریش هم به من یاد داد چجوری رو پای خودم بتونم بایستم و بی نهایت ممنونشم. ولی که یه دفعه کوهی از کار و مسئولیت افتاد رو دوش من و خب احساس ناتوانی میکردم، میترسیدم. ولی پله پله با هم رفتیم جلو و دستش درد نکنه، واقعا دستش درد نکنه. در هر حال ما خیلی زود ازدواج کردیم، یعنی من 19 سالم بود و بهزاد 22 سالش بود. همه بهش میگفتن این یه بچه داماده، بیبی. خیلی پدر مادرمون نگران بودن، میگفتن نکنید این کار، شماها خیلی جوونید، هنوز درآمدی ندارید، بچه سالید. فکر میکنن از این عشقای جوانیست که حالا میگذره. و حتی یه دفعه مادر شوهرم به من گفتش که کتایون، من باورم نمیشد که شماها اینقدر دوون بیا، همش فکر میکردن جدا میشید، ولی خوشحالم که موندید و با هم بودید. ولی واقعا من از همون لحظه اول بهزاد دوست داشتم و در کنارش آرامش داشتم. زندگیمون مثل همه زندگی ها بالا پایین داشت، دانشجویی داشتیم، بی‌پولی داشتیم، سختی داشتیم. حتی اگه یادتون باشه دوستان، ما توی بیسمنت یه مدتی زندگی می‌کردیم، ولی من اصلا سختی رو لذت می‌بردم از زندگی، ولی آرامش داشتم، عشق رو می‌دیدم، لذت می‌بردم ازش. و بعد چون بسیار آدم پرمعلوماتی بود بهزاد، خیلی اهل مطالعه و این رو به من منتقل می‌کرد، ازش خیلی چیزا یاد می‌گرفتم. عاشق کتاب بود، عاشق این بود که هی کتابا رو بخونه و ترجمه کنه و بیش از 30 تا کتاب ترجمه کرد. تعداد زیادی از این کتاب‌های انجینیرینگ هست، مهندسی هست که اینها رو به عنوان ریفرنس حتی هنوز دارن در دانشگاه تدریس میکنن. عاشق نجوم بود، کتاب‌های درباره نجوم ترجمه کرد. بعد چون کتاب دوست داشت، همش به من کتاب هدیه میداد. تا شاید بگم 10 سال برای تولدم، برای سالگرد ازدواجم، همه چیز میدونستم یه کتاب میاد تا صدام در آمد. بهش گفتم بابا یه چیز دیگه بده غیر از کتاب، خوبه ولی یه چیز دیگه. تبدیل شد به گل و 20 سال بعدی، 30 سال بعدی گل بود که میومد. ولی قشنگیش این بود که همیشه یادش بود تولد من، سالگرد ازدواجمون، لحظاتی رو که باید هدیه میداد. حتی وقتی که مریض بود رفته بود ایران برای سلول درمانی، تولدم یکی از دوستامون با یه گلدون گل آمد گفت بهزاد به من پیغام داده که باید برات گل بیارم. در حال من فقط عشقم رو از دست ندادم، من دوست واقعی زندگیمو، سنگ صبورمو، همین چی اینا رو از دست دادم. وقتی که وارد کانادا شدیم، حتی دوران دانشجویی دوباره شروع شد، سختی‌های دوران مهاجرت، ولی باز هم عشق باعث شد که با تمام اون سختی‌ها کنار بیاییم و زندگیمون رو ادامه بدیم. I just try to translate something that I said in English fast. Me and Behzad, we married for 40 years. 40 is a long time. Almost close to the half of century. We married very early. I was 19 and he was 22. Our parents, they were so worried that this marriage won't last long because it looks like two kids just they're gonna marry for fun or something. But because we were in love and we wanted to live together with all that difficulties, financial problems, with everything, we could deal together. He was a very knowledgeable, patient person and very supportive husband. He was supporting me in any aspects of life. That made me kind of spoiled, that I didn't want to involve myself in financial things, in fixing stuff. And then when he got sick, that it happened in 2018, that disease was like a bomb that the doctors threw on our head. Even when he was sick, he tried to train me and teach me how to deal with all these difficulties in life, like financial things, dealing with the tax stuff, with bank stuff, and it kind of, just helped me to be independent. He loved books. He translated more than 30 books from English to Farsi, and most of these books now there are references in the university in Iran that they are teaching. He loved stars and galaxies, and also translated few books in that issue. He was just giving books as a gift to me for 15 years, for every occasion, for my birthday, for my anniversary, until I just complained and I said, I need something else, give me something else. And then now flowers coming. The next kind of gift was flowers. I know that it's my birthday, I'll get flowers, anniversary flowers. And when he was sick in Iran for a stem cell therapy, it was around my birthday. I really surprised when one of his friends came to our home with a pot of flower and said, Behzad just sent me an email and said, take flowers for Katya for her birthday. So, but the good point was that he always remembered all these times, always. We had lots of challenges, even immigration to Canada. He got his PhD here. We just went through all these hard times together because we loved each other a lot. I'm just trying to say that I didn't just lose a husband, I lost my best friend, my supportive, and everything that I had. But I'm happy that I have two beautiful kids. He gave the best gift to me, and I can see him in them. فقط یه شعری رو میخونم براتون. I'm sorry, I have a poem. It's in Farsi. It's so hard to translate it in English. I just read this one. I don't want to take your time that much. شعری هست از آقای ناصر مردانی. چون این شعر خیلی با احساسات من الان میخونه. فکر کردم فقط بخونم و رد شم. دیشب شب رویای تو بود و تو نبودی. با من یلدای تو بود و تو نبودی. دل زیر لب آهسته تمنای تو میکرد. بر لب همه نجوای تو بود و تو نبودی. دیشب که شب از آینه ماه گل انداخت، گل سایه سیمای تو بود و تو نبودی. در باغ نظر مردم بینایی چشمم مشتاق تماشای تو بود و تو نبودی. دیشب نفس باغچه در سایه مهتاب خوشبوز غزلهای تو بود و تو نبودی. بالنده تر از بال بلندای خیالم کوتاهی بالای تو بود و تو نبودی. دیشب چمن خواب من از بوی تو آشفت، خرم گل من جای تو بود و تو نبودی. با من همه جا همسفر و همسر و همسیر، اندیشه پویای تو بود و تو نبودی. دیشب ز لب چشمه صدای تو شنیدم، در گوش من آوای تو بود و تو نبودی. گفتی که غزل زخمی عشقم، دل وسعت صحرای تو بود و تو نبودی. دیشب من و یاد تو غریبانه نخفتیم، در سر همه سودای تو بود و تو نبودی. بر موج جنون کشتی سرگشته جانم، طوفانی دریای تو بود و تو نبودی. دیشب لبم از سوز سخنهای تو میسوخت، در من همه غوغای تو بود و تو نبودی. دل آتش نی از سفر سوختن آورد، آتش همه از نای تو بود و تو نبودی.
Behzad's son. I'm going to read my notes here in English because my Farsi isn't so good. So, no one was like my dad. He was my biggest inspiration and a true hero to me. He was the true Bahraman. Our family leaned on him during any tough times, and he was a rock that never let us down. The strength he possessed wasn't flashy or in your face. In many ways, he was a quiet, unassuming man who just got on with things. He was beneath the surface, but it was beneath the surface that his principles and determination lay. That Allah was most evident in how he put us, his family first, and the way he made sure we were protected no matter what. I'll always remember the good times as well, the camping trips we would take together and how much he would make us laugh. It's hard to imagine a life without him, and I will miss him dreadfully. I will hold on to the memories we made forever.
بگذار تا بگریم چون ابر در بهاران که سنگ ناله خیزد روز وداع یاران. In September 1975, I started my first year of high school in an all-boys school in the city of Behzad. I didn't know anyone, and I was the youngest in the class. But soon I met a skinny boy with curly hair and large, smart, and playful eyes. His name was Behzad. I didn't realize that our destiny is to share so much of our lives with each other almost for half a century. We did homework together, we hung out at each other's homes, and participated in science competitions, always in the same team. The high school years came to an end, and we sat beside each other in a bus and traveled to Tehran to go to the same university for the first time away from our homes. Shortly after, on his suggestion, we volunteered to go to the remote villages south of Iran to teach reading and writing to children who didn't have a chance to go to school. During the years of war and terror, we were together in a small group of friends who supported each other to stay alive and sane. In the years that my father was a political exile and I was alone at home, he was one of the few friends who visited every day to provide support. When I started an electronics shop, during the years that universities were shut down by the regime, it was again Behzad who came to support. Those years passed, and again we were back to university. This time we both moved to another university. For the masters again, we went to the same university and did our thesis with the same advisor. While during our master's program, we were both pulled out of the classes to be sent to the war fronts. We went to the military training camp together. We skipped the hard training together by hiding in the bushes. And eventually both disciplined for teasing the stupid commander. But this time they were clever. For the punishment, they separated us by sending me to the Western Front and him to the East. The years passed, we worked together, we did engineering projects together, we published books together, and so much more. Throughout the years, we shared our happy moments when we fell in love and got married, when our children were born, when we moved to Canada, when we picnicked together, we camped together, went to the seaside together, we went to mountain climbing together, we went to deserts and caught in sandstorm together. We celebrated each other's birthdays, and when we played ping pong every Sunday. And we shared our sad moments when we mourned together for Behzad's younger brother Behnam, who was arrested and later executed for distributing the newspaper of an opposition group. When our parents passed, when our friends executed or passed. We shared the sad news from Iran, and when he shared the bad news about his diagnosis. But perhaps the hardest one for me was the time that I realized he could no longer hold the ping pong racket in his hand. From that day on, our Sunday fun times were changed to my Sunday visits to his home, where he sat in a chair and becoming weaker and weaker every day, until he could no longer move his arms and legs. And only God knows how sad it was to see him gradually losing his ability to breathe on his own and to talk. We walked together in this long journey, and now our destiny is to continue on separate paths. The friend that I could always call, the one I could talk to freely and with no reservation, the one I could hang out with and be myself, is now gone. An honest, honorable, knowledgeable friend with a bright mind, deep curiosity about the universe and origins of life, and unique sense of humor is now gone. My dear Behzad, you are now gone to a better place where you enjoy the peace and harmony, where there are no worries, there is no suffering. You are not imprisoned in a non-functioning body. You're free. You can enjoy the beauties of the world. You can laugh. You can find answer for your questions. Your curiosity is fulfilled. And I'm left to go through the rest of this journey alone. But I know you're waiting there for me with your usual smile and a whole bunch of your smart jokes to challenge me. I know you're going to tease me, and I tell you, you're crazy, man. Seriously, you need to see a doctor. We'll walk together again, we'll laugh, we'll make funny songs, we'll listen to music, we'll read poetry, we'll talk about the art, about philosophy, about the universe, about God. And we'll watch stars, but this time not through a telescope, as the stars will be in our hand reach. I know you're waiting for me. I'll see you soon. Goodbye, my friend. Goodbye, my brother. Goodbye.
به نام خداوند رنگین کمان، خداوند پروانه های رنگ رنگ. امروز روز بزرگداشت دوست عزیزم بهزاد است. او یار دبستانی من بود. دوستی ما در صبح یک روز پاییزی در کلاس دوم دبستان شروع شد و تقریبا 53 سال بعد در یک شب سرد با ما وداع کرد. بهزاد عاشق ستارگان و گلها بود. در 5 سال گذشته هر یک شنبه بعد از ظهر من و بهزاد و مجتبی حدود 2 ساعت با هم بودیم و در مورد ستارگان، فیزیک کوانتوم و گاهی فلسفه کتابی می‌خواندیم و بحثی می‌کردیم. بعداً فقط من و مجتبی میگفتیم و بهزاد گوش میکرد. در چند ماه گذشته دستهایش را در دستانم میگرفتم و از او میخواستم چشمانش را ببندم. به آسمان پرستاره مینگریستیم. در دشت‌های شقایق میگشتیم و پرواز پرندگان را میدیدیم. وقتی چشم باز میکرد آرام بود. برایش از دورگردی میگفتم که بر الاغی سوار است و در کوچه به کوچه میگردد و بانگ میزند. دردهای کهنه دارید میخرد. دردهای کهنه دارید میخرم، به جایش ستاره میده. چراغ‌های کهنه را با دشت شقایق تاب می‌زند. در تمام این مدت کتایون همسر بهزاد و بعداً مرجان خواهر کتایی ما را با چای شیرینی پذیرایی میکرد. پنجشنبه شب رأس ساعت 9:30 بهزاد لباس کهنه را با باغ اطلسی تاز. برام بهزاد پیش ستارگان است. In the name of God who created rainbow, God of colorful butterflies, today is Behzad's Memorial Day. First time I met Behzad when we were grade 2. Almost 50 years later, he left us for a better place. Behzad was fan of flowers, universe and quantum physics. For last 5 years, every Sunday afternoon, myself, Behzad and Mujtaba read a book about physics, cosmology, and sometimes philosophy, and talk about it for hours. Later, Behzad just listened to us. Later, I got his palms in my hands. I asked him to close his eyes, and we were imagining stars. He walked to Saturn fields and imagined birds. When he opened his eyes, he was calm. Sometimes I remind him a folk story about a man who was wandering in dusty lanes on a donkey and shouted to people in their homes, I trade your pains with a field of satin. If you don't need an old lamp, I trade it with stars. All that time, his wife Katayo and Marjan were serving us with tea and sweets. Last Thursday evening, right at 9:30, he traded his torn clothes with a field of satin. He is with stars now.
I am Ehsan's wife. My name is Roya. I have the honor of being a friend of dearest Katayo and Behzad for almost 40 years. Because of my accent, I tell it 40 years. I have few words, first in Farsi and then in English. من رویا همسر احسان هستم. به شما خوش آمد میگویم. خوشحالم که نزدیک به 40 سال است که دوست خانوادگی کتایون عزیز و بهزاد گرامی می باشم. چند جمله را ابتدا به فارسی و بعد به انگلیسی بیان می کنم. امروز که برای بزرگداشت زندگی آقای بهزاد قهرمان دور هم جمع شده ایم، خداوند را سپاسگزاریم برای تمام سالهای سرشار از شادی و محبت که ایشان در کنار خانواده پرمهرشان سپری کردند. هر کدام از ما برای زمانی سپاسگزاریم که بر ما مقدر شد
تا با بهزاد عزیز باشیم. آغوش محبت خداوندی که از یاد نمیبرد و میبخشد پذیرای بهزاد عزیز باد. آمین. Today we gathered here to celebrate Mr. Behzad Qahraman's life. We are thankful for the joyful years he had with his dearest family. Every each of us is thankful for the time we spent with him. Now he is with the God of love who remembers and forgives. Amen.
با درود و تسلیت به مناسبت درگذشت بهزاد عزیز، کاترین جان، سارا بیژن، نارسین، علی و سپر و خانواده های محترم شاملو و قهرمان و داوود جان. معذرت نوشته بودم اصلا، ببخشید، سارا و داوود. آره دیگه بزنیم به حساب شناسنامه من یه وقت اشتباه کردم. عزیزان، من تو این روزای غم‌انگیز کشورمون که فقط میخوام با زندگی آزادی شروع کنم و با امید آزادی ایران، و بعد یک بیت شعر دارم برای کاترین جان، بعدش دو شعر خواهم خوند. همه مسافر و من در عجب که انسانها بر آن کسی که به مقصد رسید میگوید. زندگی گر زشت گر زیباست گردبادی بود و از صحرا گذشت. داستانی تلخ و بی‌فرجام بود آنچه از نامردمان بر ما گذشت. بی خبر از اون که فردا قصه است، فکر فردا کردم و فردا گذشت. هستی من برق یک لبخند بود، لحظه‌ای پایید و برق‌آسا گذشت. سیلی طوفان مرا از جای برد، همچو موجی که از سر دریا گذشت. رد پای ماند و دیگر هیچ کاروان روز و شب بی جا گذشت. جام من خالی است ای ساقی بیا، دور مستی با خماری ها گذشت. گرچه کوته بود عمر ما ولی جان نوعی بر لب آمد تا گذشت. خب منم یک شعرم میخوام از مولانا براتون بخونم، دیگه دل برم میشه ولی نه به خاطر صدام نه چیز، و این تکامل انسان داره مقداری شهر بیده. من نمیتونم انگلیسی، نمیتونم سرده با این فارسی. چه تدبیر ای مسلمانان که من خود را نمیدانم، نه ترسا نه یهودم من، نه گبرم نه مسلمانم، نه شرقیم نه غربیم، نه بریم نه بحریم، نه از کان طبیعیم، نه از افلاک گردانم، نه از هندم نه از چینم، نه از بلغار و سقسینم، نه از کان طبیعیم، نه از افلاک گردانم، نه از دنیا نه از عقبی، نه از جنت نه از دوزخ، نه از آدم نه از حوا، نه از فردوس رضوانم. نشانم بی نشان باشد، مکانم لا مکان باشد، نه تن باشد نه جان باشد که من خود جان جانانم، نه تن باشد نه جان باشد که من خود جان جانانم. دویی از خود برون کردم، دویی از خود برون کردم، یکی دیدم دو عالم را، یکی بینم یکی جویم، یکی دانم یکی خوانم. ز جام عشق سرمستم، دارم رفت از دستم به جز رندی و قلاشی نباشد هیچ سامانم. اگر در عمر خود روزی دمی بود بی او برآوردم، از آن وقت و از آن ساعت ز عمر خود پشیمانم. اگر دستم دهد روزی دمی با دوست در خلوت، دو عالم زیر کارم دمی دستی برافشانم. عجب یاران چه مرغم من، عجب یاران چه مرغم من، که اندر بیضه می پرم، درون جسم آب و گل همه عشقم همه جانم. الا الا ای شمس تبریزی، چنان مستم در این عالم، که جز مستی و سرمستی دیگر چیزی نمیدانم، که جز مستی و سرمستی دیگر چیزی نمیدانم. بهزاد عزیز و اون روزهای خاطر انگیزی که با هم بودیم و ساکت بود، آروم بود، خیلی باهوش بود، خیلی معلومات داشت ولی کم حرف میزد. منم پر حرفی و حتی بحث مذهبی و بقیه چیزایی میشد، من درگیر میشدیم با هم دیگه، ولی خب مجبور بودم میذاره باباتم خیلی کنار میومدن با من، خیلی محبت میکردن. انشالله روحش شاد باشه، روحش شاد باشه و زندگی خوبی کرد، خانواده خیلی خوبی داره، تک تکتون همتون و ایرانیای عزیز که همه با افتخار و البته کانادایی هم شما تجربه کنید که خیلی خوب هستن. مبارک نماریم پرتون نشد.
My name is Daniel, and I would say I became good friends with the family. I became friends with Katayon and Behzad just since about 2018, and it's been an honor knowing Behzad. I'll just speak very shortly on some certain things. Getting to know him for that period of time, really, I learned a lot of lessons. He was an amazing man, you know. And my first impression of Behzad, it spoke volume. I'll just outline 3 things that will forever speak to me and will forever be something I'll remember about him. And the first was his kindness. He was a very kind man. I knew that by my first encounter I had with him, just the first encounter. He did something, I was like a total stranger, and he was willing to help me in a certain way I may not be able to mention now. And I asked myself the question, what kind of a man is this? He was so kind-hearted. You know, in a world where people are so self-centered, you know, meeting and knowing someone like Behzad is a reminder that there are still good people out there. And Behzad was that kind of man. Very kind, and I'll never forget that about him. He was also a strong-hearted person, you know, and I think while his son was talking, he seemed unassuming, but he had a strong heart, really strong heart. And I knew that I was there, you know, all the while, you know, towards the last weeks before he passed on. And we always visited the house, you know, to see how he was doing, strengthening the family, praying with them. He was very strong, and as you could see, he fought till the very end. A strong-hearted man, and that's a lesson for me. The third thing was that Behzad was also, you know, a very peaceful man and also a very patient man, because many times I know I stretched his patience, because, you know, that's a whole long story. But he was very patient, and that was a lesson for me too, and full of peace. Coming around him, there's this ambience of peace around Behzad, and you just come around him and there's a peace he brings. It's like an assurance he brings when you're around him. And I will never forget that about him. He lived an exemplary life, something worthy of emulation. You know, just getting to know him for those years, I learned and I could write a whole book on things because I'm a very observant person. I learned from Behzad. It's a reminder, like I said, that precious and wonderful souls like this existed. And even though he seems to have passed on now, sadly, you know, I would say, like, he will always be somebody that I will always remember. He forever lives in our hearts, and there are lessons we can draw out from him and his life. You know, I believe very strongly that it's not necessarily how long, but how impactful. And I can tell, you know, he was 61, but the impact he had on me, on my family, my sister, even without him knowing, it's amazing. And I really appreciate, always thank God for coming in contact with him and his beautiful family. It's such an honor to stand here. Getting to interact with Behzad and Katayan also, they taught me a little bit of some Farsi, you know, I learned some Farsi here and there. Learning how to say hi in Farsi. Durut. Or that Torah has gone out. And mercy. But I thank God for such a life lived. Behzad was a wonderful man. And even though it's sad that I never felt like this day will come, but like I said, he forever lives on in our heart. And he was such a blessing. Thank you so much.
My name is Ani Gole, and I was Behzad's PhD advisor at the University of Manitoba. And it is indeed very sad to see that Behzad has moved on. But I think he's moved on to a much better place. And he will all be missed, he will be missed. And my heartfelt condolences to his Kokatian and his children and families and so on. But anyway, I'd just like to share a few things about Behzad when he first joined me as a graduate student. The first thing I had difficulty with was to pronounce his last name. And I said, you know, how do you say that? And because I started saying Q, it's Kwaraman or something, but he said no. And I said, why don't you spell it differently? He said, because when I applied for my passport, that's what they put on it. I'm stuck with it. So I don't know if that's a true story, but he told me that anyway. I'm sure it's true. Yeah, and I you know, everything that was said today struck a chord with me. And in particular, I do remember Behzad as a bit of he had a poet's soul in him, even when he was doing his PhD. And astronomy always interested him. I always saw that his screensaver on his computer was always something from NASA, and which was interesting to see. And always wanted to somehow bring in quantum mechanics into his PhD thesis, but I had to stop him from doing that. And I said, you know, one thing at a time. I said, do quantum mechanics afterwards. But anyway, he ended up with a very good thesis, which is quite often quoted in papers by other people today. And I also remember our bike rides back together. He used to, I had to ride a bike about a little bit further than he did. That was when he still lived in Fort Richmond. And so I took the bike with him, and we had many discussions on the way about a lot of different things, philosophy as you say, but more about what is happening in Iran, what had happened in Iran and the revolution and this and that. So I of course missed those conversations after he left. I think the last time I met him was in 2018 when he was still okay. There was some function at the university which he was present at. And I was not aware that his condition had become so bad. I should have followed up, my mistake on my part. But it is indeed, you know, very sad to see him go, and I will always miss his cheerful face and his calm face. You know, if we were all excited, he had a calm face, and he would calm us down. And miss all the discussions I had with him, and I pray for his soul and for his family. So thank you very much for letting me speak.
compared to Mujtaba, Ehsan, and Roya, I knew Behzad for a short time. Theirs about 5 decades and mine barely one. But the affection that quickly developed between the two of us was undeniable. He shared with me things that no new friend has the right to know, and for that I will always be grateful and privileged. Everyone knows how smart Behzad was, how sharp he was, including his sharp wit. His wife just slowly alluded to it, but let me tell you without a doubt that Behzad's attention to details bordered pathological. He frustrated the daylight out of people around him with how quickly he noticed details and already have a plan as to how to deal with it. Behzad and I had many philosophical discussions and disagreements, some very deep, some as deep as the nature of divinity. But when it came to practical ways of how to be a better world citizen, we couldn't agree more. This reminds me of why that chemistry was so quick. You've heard they say opposites attract, and he and I could not have been more opposites when it came to talking. We lived vicariously through one another about the capabilities that each of us individually did not have. Through his gentlemanly behavior, I learned that you can disagree with respect, which anyone who knows me, it's not my strong suit. And through me and my irreverent ways, he watched someone loudly challenge nonsense and preconceived ideas, which he himself was too polite to take on. I know that for a fact because every time that he saw me almost yell out my argument at people, the glint in his eye and the smirk on his lips was unmistakable.
حسام جان خودتو معرفی کن.
با درود به همه عزیزان، و عرض تسلیت به خانواده عزیز قهرمانی و شامپیون. خب من مدت‌های زیادی نبود که با بهزاد آشنا بودم. فکر کنم برمیگرده به دوران 2014 یا 15، ولی از طریق خانم‌ها بهزاد جونم باش آشنا شدم. ما این توفیق رو داشتیم که 2 مسافرت با عزیز ما کتایون و بهزاد جان و فرید جان همسرم داشته باشیم و تو این مدت میدونید تو مسافرت دیگه چقدر انسان ها میتونن هم نزدیک باشن و چقدر لذت بردم از این مرد که چقدر صبور بود در همه چیزا. هیچ وقت در هیچ چیزی حقشو نمیخواست پیش ببره، فقط پیشنهاد میداد. بعد ما به قولی کدو جان میگفت که ایشون اینقدر که دقت داشت، ما همه کارمون رو واگذار کرده بودیم که ایشون روحش شاد باشه. بسیار شریف بودن و صبور و عاشق موسیقی. عجیب ما اونجا میرفتیم اصلا ایشون با موسیقی کلاسیک از چی شده بود، انقدر موسیقی رو قشنگ و زیبا میشناخت، اساتید بزرگ موسیقی جهانو که من همون لحظات اول برام خیلی چیز شده بود که واقعا این مرد چقدر به موسیقی گوش کرده که این همه اساتید رو با آهنگاشون میشناسه. عاشق کتاب بود، شعر هم دوست داشت اما من نمیدونم دقیقا، ولی با شعر نو خوب کنار میومد. بعد یکی از شعرهایی که خیلی خیلی دوست داشت و من اونجا براش یک بار خوندم لذت بردم، شعر آقای مربوط به آقای شفیع کتکنی است، به کجا چون این شتابان بود که گفتم تو این روزم که حالا در کنار دوستان هستم این شعر رو به یادش بخونم. به کجا چون این شتابان گمن از نسیم پرسید، به هر آن کجا که باش به جز این سرایم. دل من گرفته ز اینجا، هوس سفر نداری ز غبار این بیابان. همه آرزویم اما چه کنم که بسته پایم. همه آرزویم اما چه کنم که بسته پایم. سفرت به خیر اما تو دوستی، خدا را گر از این کبیر وحشت به سلامتی گذشتی. به ستاره ها به باران برسان سلام ما را. ستاره ها به باران برسان سلام ما را. بسیار متشکرم. یادش گرامی باد. شما